What's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about breaking through your limiting beliefs and starting to think bigger, getting more out of yourself, right? And guys, today, at the end of today's video, I'm going to give you one hack that I use to actually think bigger and how I can expand my mind and believe that I can accomplish more, that I'm capable of accomplishing more, guys. We're going to jump right into it here. Guys, your dominating thoughts are going to become your GPS or like your North Star. Okay, what I mean by that is like, I'm going to give you guys an example, right? Let's say that, there's a ship, right? Ships don't leave their harbor if they're not going to hit another port. If they're not going to drop off to another port, right? They're not going to go directly to that other port, right? Because if they go out in the ocean and they're like just drifting around, then what happens is they end up somewhere random. But they're intentional. They're very intentional about where they're going to end up. So what do ships do? They take off. They have a GPS of exactly where they're going to end up. And they go and they follow that course. And even though their destination is for 99% of their journey is not visible, they still travel in that direction knowing that they're going to end up there. Okay, that's like us with our goals and where we want to be in our targets and where we want to go. It's not visible. We're not there yet for 99% of it. Right, but we're still moving in that direction. So we have to have goals and targets. It's not just about having goals to have goals. It's to have goals to start to have our reticular activating system start to use these goals and these targets and where we want to be as our problem-solving mechanism, okay? Guys, our brain is naturally developed to ask ourselves the question, how? Okay, if I'm sitting here, and I don't think I'm like saying this out loud, but if I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I just stink at dialing the phone. I stink at sales. My brain's going to go, how, right? Oh, yeah, no. You do stink at sales. You should just stop. These people don't want to answer. Nobody wants to talk to you. You can't even get a presentation. You should quit, right? How can I prove that correct is what your brain's trying to think. How can I solve that problem? How can I prove that right? So if my dominating thoughts in my mind are constantly, this is where I'm going to end up. This is the business that I want to have. This is where I'm going to be. And even though it's not visible right now, it's not possible right now. With my dominating thoughts in my mind, if I just keep telling myself this over and over and over, and I just believe it, right? I start to believe that that's going to happen. My reticular activating system is going to start going, how do I solve that problem? What can I do to make that happen? What would a business like that have to do? Would a business like that have an onboarding process that look like this or this? Would my agency have to have this many agents or this many agents? How can I start to solve that problem? Again, our brains are naturally wired to do that. So if we're programming our brains with positivity and where we want to go, it'll solve that problem. And if we're programming our brains with negativity and self-limiting, low-limiting beliefs, it'll start to solve that problem and prove that correct to us. So evaluate what you're thinking about, what your dominating thoughts are. Okay, it'll become your North Star and your GPS along your journey. Just like the ship with the harbor, right? If it leaves the harbor, the last thing we want to do as entrepreneurs and business owners is just go out there in the ocean and see where we end up. We have to have a target, a goal, where we want to go so we can start to solve that problem. All right, guys, number 2, program and reprogram your mind and what you want your life to look like in the future pacing, right? We're going to start to think about where we want to be, how we want our business to be, what kind of business we want our business to be doing, rather than just sitting here in our current state right now. I'm believing that there's more out there. I'm chasing more. I'm after more, right? So I'm going to try to build my life. I'm going to try to build this community, this culture in my business. I'm going to try to help more agents. I'm going to try to help more clients. How many more? What do I want that to look like? What kind of lifestyle do I want to have? What's going to give me the opportunity to live that lifestyle, right? I'm starting to think ahead. I'm starting to future think where I want to be, what it's going to look like, and how I'm going to get there. Okay? It's so important. I say program and reprogram our mind, guys, because we all are at the place that we're at right now based off of all the information, the knowledge, experience, and all the things that have happened to us inside of our lives. So if I'm at that place currently right now, well, then I've programmed myself to get to this place now. So what do I have to do? I have to reprogram myself with more information, more knowledge, more wisdom, more experiences to be able to get to where I want to go. And I want to be thinking about what I'm thinking about. I want to evaluate what I'm thinking about. And guys, a lot of times, a lot of this stuff's not going to make sense while you're actually doing it, while you're envisioning it, while you're viewing it, while you're future pacing it out, while you're trying to change your dominating thoughts, rather than like, I'm just trying to make a sale today. How do I build an agency to $10 million a month and issue pay premium? What does that look like? How would I do that? How can I start to solve that problem? Right? There's a difference. And the only thing that is different about those two individuals that think two different ways is their thoughts. It's a decision, it's a choice to start to think differently like that. Okay. So I'm going to start to reprogram and program myself to believe that I can chase more, that I can have more, that I can go out there and I can do more inside my business. So for it to consciously decide to start to think bigger, to start to think differently. Okay. And you will break your limiting beliefs. You will break those limiting beliefs and the things that are happening inside of your mind currently by starting to think differently. Guys, at the beginning of this journey, when I started to really learn about all this stuff, really starting to Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, reading books like Think and Grow Rich, Psycho-Cybernetics. There's a lot of different books that I've read and people that I've studied that talk a lot about this. Brad Lee, Andy Elliott, a lot of those two guys are my big mentors from life and entrepreneurship, and they really talk about these concepts, right? And at the beginning, guys, you don't have any evidence to believe that that's actually going to happen. But if you can if you can consciously decide to continue to view it, to envision it, to believe that's where you're going to end up, your brain will start to solve that problem. I promise you, it might take a little while for your brain to start to do it because it hasn't become a dominating thought for long enough, but it will happen eventually as long as you continue on the mission. You follow that playbook, right? So, and guys, if you want to read a book on this stuff, Psycho-Cybernetics is great. Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich has a lot of frameworks that will show you, writing your goals out, reading them out loud every single day. It'll become the dominating thought in your mind, and it'll start to become that North Star, that definiteness of purpose that you're going to chase, and it'll become your desire, right? And once you have that desire, you're going to naturally start to, your brain, it talks about auto-suggestion inside your brain. It talks about, getting flashes of inspiration, flashes of ideas and things like that, that'll start to come from just you believing, from you thinking about it so much, from you envisioning it, from it just rattling around in your mind so much that your brain starts to say, man, this would help us get there. Man, you should do this. This will help you be able to create that culture. This will help you be able to get more writing agents. This is how you're going to affect more people, impact more people. Your brain naturally starts to solve that problem. So, guys, number 3 here, we're going to talk about build your belief from the inside out. Okay, it's not going to come from the outside. It's not going to come from anybody else telling you that you're going to be able to make it. You're going to have to put in the work to start to build that belief. The work comes before the belief, okay? From the inside out. And yes, guys, I'm going to give you guys an example. When I got started inside of Real Financial, there's no reason to believe that I should have been a top salesperson by over 6 figures my first 8 months when people had been doing it for 12. There's no reason I should have believed that I was going to be able to build a huge agency, that I was going to be working with Brad Lee and Andy Elliott here at Real Financial. There's no reason for me to believe that I was going to be there when I was dropping out of college, when I had to take out a loan for my first batch of leads, when I had no money in my bank account, I was couch surfing, living at a friend's house. No reason to believe that I should have been a top salesperson out here. No reason to believe that I was going to be working on the inside of the company with Brad and Andy. But I believed it. Even though it didn't make sense, even though I had no evidence, I still believed it. Okay? And that is exactly what I'm talking about. You have to build your own belief from the inside out. No one came to me and said, yeah, man, you're going to be able to do that. Yeah, man, you're going to kill it. You're going to crush it. You're an experienced person inside of sales. No, I didn't have that. I had to believe from me. And it wasn't from anybody else's perspective. It was only for me. I didn't care what anybody thought. I was like, this is the direction I'm going to go. I made 5,000 calls and no sales. I'm still going to drop out of school. I don't care. This is what's going to change my life. I believe that this opportunity is going to change my life. So this opportunity did change my life. Think about that. Okay. And so guys, I'm going to challenge you to, when you are building your belief from the inside out, expand what you believe to be possible. Okay. Up here, we have break through your limiting beliefs. Right now, with where you're at, there's no reason for you to believe that you can accomplish more while you should. You have no evidence to believe that. But if you can change your dominating thoughts inside your brain, you can reprogram yourself, you can expand that, then you will start to solve that problem and you will start to believe that you can, and it will just start to naturally form inside of your daily decisions as long as you keep putting in the work, you keep learning, keep studying, you keep growing. Okay? And I guess some simple things here, guys. This is the bonus thing that I was talking about. The one thing that I do that I don't think a lot of other people are aware of, and I don't talk about it a lot, is I have my goals written down on a note card. And I carry that note card around with me everywhere. There's about 5 things on it. I'm constantly adding. Maybe I'll grab a new note card and I change it. But I have this note card and I read it to myself every single day. I'm consciously deciding to reprogram my mind, to remind myself of where I want to go. I view it as it's like a rope that has a lot of slack in it, right? Here's point A and here's point B. And guys, like the rope has a lot of slack in it. Like, you know, like when I'm not plugged into where I want to go, where I want my business to look like, where I want my health to look like, where I want my relationships to look like, how I want to be treating people. When I'm not plugged, when I'm not reminding myself of that, I might get off course. I might just randomly be acting out of alignment with where I want to go. But when I read that, when I read it and I think about it and I visualize it and I imagine that stuff happening and me believing in it, here's what happens. Here's point A, here's point B. That rope becomes tight. And I have a direct line. I know exactly what I have to do. I'm on the mission. I'm in alignment. My brain starts to think, starts to envision, starts to create that situation, starts to solve that problem inside my head. And I know exactly what I got to do. I'm back in alignment with where I want to go. So we want to be acting out of this and not out of this, because this is a much longer path to be able to get to point B. You guys, we don't want to be like that ship floating around the harbor, just randomly hoping that it's going to end up at the goal. If we're not intentional, if we're not choosing to get up every single day and solve for that problem, there's no reason for us to expect that we're actually going to end up there, guys. So I challenge you, get intentional, figure out where you want to go, figure out what you want to do. And if you want to start to change the internal beliefs that you have, the internal decisions that you make, start to think about what you're thinking about. Start to evaluate it on a daily basis. Are you pulling yourself down? Are you limiting yourself? Or are you expanding what you believe to be possible? Are you chasing bigger things? Are you after bigger targets constantly? And I can tell you that I am. And in just 18 months, I've been able to go from broke college dropout to running an insurance agency, working with Bradley and Andy Elliott. Nobody believed that I could have done it. I didn't even know that this stuff was possible, but I keep on hitting these new levels, increasing my thinking. So we're just getting started on my end, guys. I hope that you are too. If this stuff helps you, share it with a friend, guys. If you watch the end of the video, drop a like and subscribe. If you want to see me make a video on anything specific, drop it in the comments below. See you guys soon.